The Scripps Spelling Bee adds an imaginary word to its competition database to satisfy the feminists. One of our Supreme Court justices, the one Biden appointed, of course, starred in a queer Broadway play, and thugs are getting creative with their beat-down props. It's time for my Losers of the Week. Thanks to COVID shutdowns, overcrowded schools, woke teachers who'd rather indoctrinate than educate, and the introduction of stupid crap like this next example, our nation's students are falling further and further behind. But instead of going back to the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, the powers that be are going all in on the woke joke, and that includes the Scripps National Spelling Bee, which recently approved the misspelling of the word women on its Spelling Bee study list database for third graders. Yes, the misspelling of the word women with the letter Y in place of the E is now acceptable for spelling bee competitors. This was supposedly added as a nod to the feminist spelling of the word. Scripps Spelling Bee officials have passed it off by saying that the Merriam-Webster dictionary also includes women with the misspelled alternate spelling. Apparently, the Y was adopted in some feminist context as a way to fight back against the patriarchy by eliminating the men at the end of the word. It's just wild. Feminists are fighting against proper spelling to stick it to the patriarchy, but refuse to fight for the integrity of women's sports and spaces. Newsflash, nothing says long live the patriarchy quite as boldly as forcing women to change next to biological men with their ding-dongs out in the locker room. You know, China is teaching students quantum physics, and we're teaching students to misspell words to satisfy a worthless virtue signal. Yay us. But speaking of national humiliation, that brings me to my second loser of the week, our Biden-appointed Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. When she's not tap dancing on the founders of the United States Constitution, she's literally tap dancing in a queer Broadway play.
Female empowerment. Sick. Tonight, we have a very special guest, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson! I like it too. I think what I like about it is that I am having a very strongly negative reaction to it. Like I hate it. Which makes me think it must be brilliant. I did it! I made it to Broadway.
Yes, she is the first Supreme Court justice to be in a Broadway musical. And of course, the musical Juliet is a queer twist on Romeo and Juliet. Of course, our forefathers are so proud, I'm sure. But folks, the humiliation of America continues with my final losers this week. Welcome, frequent flyers, to Chicago O'Hare Terminal 3. I hope you packed your shame. Oh, nothing is sacred anymore, not even caution wet floor signage. Those are my losers of the week. Joining me now with his reaction to that and so much more is social media influencer, Jeffery Mead. All right, Jeffrey, I want to go over my losers. I'm going to start with the last one. You know, people are being wild in airports. They're being wild in the air. People just cannot control themselves anymore, it seems. The societal contract that we once all abided by is just out the window. And now people are just going buck wild, doing whatever the hell they want. And I'm wondering if you see a diagnosis for this, possibly a solution to help solve this problem, or is this just the new normal?
Good question. Looking at that, me personally, when I look at it, I kind of see a certain skin color. And for me personally, when I see this a lot, I'm like, why, when I see a lot of times people acting out, they have the same skin color as me. But I think a lot of people that look like me don't necessarily want to admit that that is a problem. Now, overall, there is a larger problem for sure in the US. So I don't think it's the new norm, but I think we actually have to go back to, what's a better way to say this? Go back to being okay for more or less socially shaming people, having standards, saying things are unacceptable. Kind of in today's society, we make everything more or less acceptable, no matter what it is. It's okay as long as your feelings are fine, as long as you feel good about it. So I think we need to actually go back to having standards and looking to hold people accountable.
Holding everybody accountable. I mean, to be very fair, people of all races, genders, ethnicities, political affiliations, you name it, they don't act right. I mean, you got a lot of people in this country not acting right. You've got middle-aged women, middle-aged white women on airplanes going wild and beating each other down or attacking the flight attendant. I mean, this is a problem across the board. But if I'm getting what you're saying, it's maybe certain people are more protected, whereas you cannot criticize certain people because they have some kind of a pass from society to act the way that they want to act. Doesn't mean that they're the only ones doing it, but maybe they just get more of a pass for it. And that's not just based on race. I know there's a lot of people that get a pass based on their gender, based on how they identify. I think that's just a problem now. We're not able to call people out as individuals. If they're from a certain protected class, maybe we're not allowed to speak on it as much as we otherwise would. Do you think, though, this is going out of style now that we've got an election, now that we've got the end of cancel culture? Maybe we'll start canceling actual problems in society instead of people and political opinions.
Good question. So I think you're 100% right. It is people of all races, of all genders, things like that. Kind of quick going back, the reason I kind of said that is because a lot of people, I think I'm going to speak about Black people for a second. A lot of us don't want to hold ourselves accountable. So we'll see these situations and we won't call it out, but we'll call it out when we see other races. But 100%, you are right. It is all races, all genders of people. I am not sure yet if we're transitioning out of that or not. I think in a couple of years, we'll know, but I'm hoping we will start to transition out of that.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, it's a problem. We've got a crime crisis. We've got people going wild in airports. I mean, we got people going wild in subways, and then you've got people defending the right to threaten people's lives on subways. I mean, we're just in a really weird spot right now. I'm hopeful that we're coming out of it. I know you had a lot of commentary on the whole Jordan Neely, Daniel Penny thing. I really appreciated your commentary on that. Before we get into some other cultural issues, I have to ask you if you think that Kamala Harris is going to make a comeback in 2028, because there are some folks from the Democrat Party that are really pushing for it. They think they should give it another go. What are you seeing online? What are you influencing the Democrat Party to do? Or what do you hope that the Democrat Party does as just a bystander who's very active on social media?
When you say a comeback, what do you mean by a comeback? Just so I'm aware.
Oh, running again. You know, making a comeback, making another go at it. You go, girl. Let's give it another try.
If the Democratic Party is smart, they won't let it happen, in my opinion. But they have not proven to be smart, at least for the last 8 years or so. So I'm not ruling it out. But I do see some Democrats coming out and actually looking to critique their party and notice and call out the things they're doing wrong, and letting somebody like Kamala Harris run again for president. And if J.D. Vance is running in 2028 against Kamala Harris, he's going to run circles around her. So, you know, in hopes of Republicans winning, it'd be great. But if the Democrats are smart, they won't do it.
Right. Well, I think that the Democrats that are rational and sane, I think that they're hoping that Kamala speaks more. And like this next clip I'm about to play for you, because every time she speaks, I think it makes it more and more obvious and clear why she lost and why the Democrats should never, ever go down this path again. Let's listen to Kamala with one of her recycled lines, and Kamala once again laughing at herself and her own jokes. Let's play it.
No one can walk away. We must stay in the fight. And I ask you to remember the context in which you exist. Yeah, I did that.
What do you think? Is she in on the joke? Is she making fun of herself, or is she just that blissfully unaware of how absolutely awful she is?
I think it's a little bit of both. So when she, you know, the whole you fell out of a coconut tree, the context to which you exist, all that, Democrats at the beginning of her campaign, they kind of turned that into like a term of endearment, or they kind of used it as a joke that they enjoy, right? The right was laughing at it. So I think within her bubble, she thinks she's doing something and they like it, but outside of that bubble, they don't like it.
Yeah, well, I think that we should just play her more and more. It shows me what a bullet we dodged on November 5th. I mean, she seems like a nice person. I'm sure she would be a fun person to hang out with, quite frankly. Like, I think Kamala would be fun. You know, take her completely out of politics, put her on a Real Housewives show. I think she would shine brightly. I would like to see her in that atmosphere, in that context with which she exists. I'm not so sure politics is the path for her, and I think her party is going to make that very clear to her coming up within the next couple of years. But I want to go back to some other cultural issues of the day. I saw you very outspoken last week. I mean, it was the Caitlin Clark moment, the athlete of the year. A lot of folks were like, yeah, she deserved it. She was the athlete of the year in many ways, shapes, and forms. I mean, she was really resurrecting the WNBA, which people had not paid attention to for many, many, many years. And then she was, of course, in the WNBA, and she brought some light to it, still losing money, still low viewership, but it was better than it was. Well, then there was a whole, again, she comes out, she says she's got white privilege. People like me barf at that because it's like, why'd you have to go there? But then you have folks that even though she bent the knee to the woke mob, they're still not happy with it because she's white. I want to play this clip. I know you played it on your social media. Let's play it together and react.
It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen. So last night, we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said, the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that.
I wonder if she takes issue with the accolades of Michael Jordan or LeBron or a number of other athletes who are in fact not white, who have rightfully so had a lot of recognition, have been really put on a pedestal for their accolades, for their athleticism. I don't know if she takes issue with those folks, but she really takes issue with Caitlin Clark. Everybody should have been on that cover, damn it. What do you think, Jeffrey?
I think that's wrong, right? I mean, it's not League of the Year award. It's Athlete of the Year award. So she's saying, hey, let's change the entire award and give it to a league that loses $40 million a year, right? So if we're thinking about that, how are you going to give League of the Year to a league that can't even make money? So aside from that, she wants to change the entire award so the women in the WNBA can simply feel good and feel like they're included. And it's kind of pathetic, honestly. I mean, if they keep doing, it doesn't seem like they want the WNBA to succeed. Why don't they just take the woke stuff out of it? When you go show us an athlete who was doing the numbers she was doing, and it wasn't because the media just decided to put Caitlin Clark out there. She earned it. There's a reason they call her the Steph Curry of the WNBA. She plays different than the vast majority, if not all, of the WNBA players we've seen in the past, and she draws crowds. She puts butts in seats. The Fever were averaging, I think, about 16,500 people a home game. The person she talks about later is Angel Reese, not even comparable, in my opinion, to Caitlin Clark. They were averaging about 8,500. So she was averaging double. I mean, let me put it like this, make it simple. No one has had the impact she's had on the WNBA, and no one has put as many butts in seats, and no one has sold near as much merchandise as she has. She earned what she got.
Yeah, she certainly did. Now, I think we can also have that conversation and still say that the WNBA, even though Caitlin Clark has done a lot for it, it's probably never going to be at the level, actually, I take that back. The NBA is also struggling with viewership, so you never know what could happen. But the WNBA is never going to be at the status of the MLB or the NFL or, even tennis or golf. It's just not. And I think people should be honest about that. And the people that are angry that the WNBA doesn't make the money that they think it should make probably also are not going to WNBA games. They don't care about the WNBA. They couldn't name 10 players, probably not even 5 players of the WNBA. So for people that want to whine about it, I mean, you're part of the problem if you're not actively supporting every single game that league carries out. But I'm also wondering your take on this. Caitlin Clark, I think that she said her white privilege, she's got to give, the due to the black female players that came before her that apparently started the WNBA, founded it. I don't know. I wasn't aware of that, but apparently the league was made by Black women for Black women, and she's infiltrating it. I guess that's the whole context with which we exist here. But do you think, even though that she said that and did that, do you think that they're going to like her next season? Did she do enough to appease them?
No, she didn't. I think it was a mistake, for one. They're going to want more and more and more. And then they're going to want to use her as a tool to push their propaganda, right? For one, she didn't have to give any. Well, let me ask you this. When have you seen another rookie in any sport come out and say, hey, this sport was built by this specific race of people and we need to give them credit? When have you seen that?
Never.
I haven't either. So again, it seems like the WNBA is more focused on woke stuff and race issues than they are actually about becoming a profitable league. And there's a reason why they're struggling, or that's one of the reasons why they're struggling.
And also, I think there's just not the appetite to watch women play basketball. I think we got to be honest about it. Like, maybe people just don't want to watch it. And maybe there's just not enough there to draw in audiences. NBA also struggling for, I believe, woke reasons as well. That's why people aren't watching it. I think other leagues are going the other way, even the NFL, by, incorporating the Trump dance and having a little bit more, I guess, diversity of thought on the field. I guess maybe that's why the NFL is kind of redeeming itself from the kneeling days of Colin Kaepernick, when it was also struggling with its viewership and popularity, when people were just sick of the woke. But I'm wondering, in the context of sports, as we move forward with a new Trump administration, what do you think we're going to see? What do you think the reaction is going to be to knowing that more than half of this country voted for Donald Trump?
Like the reaction within these sports organizations,
do you
is
think
what you're
people are
saying?
going to be more forthright with their conservatism? Do you think that athletes that might have otherwise felt like they had to shut up about being a Trump supporter, do you think that they're going to be more proud of their beliefs, just as those on the left have been for many, many years now?
Yeah, I don't know about more proud, but I think they'll be more willingly open to express those beliefs, right? And I think we've already seen it with the Trump dance. I think we saw Bosa come in behind the camera with a Trump hat. So, we're already starting to see it, and it's just getting started.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a good thing. I think that if we're going to make athletics political, then you got to level the playing field. Let everybody be political, even if that doesn't jive with the woke narrative that the left really wants athletics to take on. Wondering about some other things too, just some hot topics since we're on the sports topic. I'm wondering your thoughts right now. It's something that I didn't anticipate there to be a debate on, but sports betting as it relates to college athletes. What is your take on it? Do you think that we should be able to place bets on DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever you place your bets, on college athletes and college athletics? Because there's been some debate this week that maybe it puts too much pressure on collegiate athletes. Maybe they shouldn't be saddled with that kind of pressure of having people place bets on their singular performance.
Interesting question. So I was actually a college athlete, and you do have quite a bit of pressure, but I don't see why not. I don't see a problem with it, right? If you're playing, especially if you're playing at like a Power 5 school, I'm thinking football, for example, right? You've got 80,000 people at your games anyway. You're known all over. Like, what's the big difference? You're basically a professional, right? So I think it should be fine.
So here's my thing with it. I don't think that college athletes can have it both ways. So they fought for NIL. They want to make money. And you know what? I'm okay with that. If you want to make money, you're basically a professional athlete. You're bringing in money. Maybe you should get a cut of that pie. All right, that's fine with me. But then you can't bitch and moan on the opposite side that there's too much pressure on you because people are betting on you. If you want to be treated like an entity that makes money, then you're going to have to take the good with the bad. You're going to be able to get your money. That's great. But then you're going to also have to take the flack from people who are betting on you. So I think that there needs to be enough of the whining and the crying. These collegiate athletes, I think, are getting very, very entitled. So I think that they got to step up to the plate, so to speak. Speaking on that same thing, I saw you tweeted about this. I'm here in Tennessee. It's going to be a big weekend for Vols fans because Ohio, Tennessee going at it. People are very excited about this. I don't know where you stand on that matchup, but I did see you tweet about the Ohio Sportsmanship Act, which makes flag planting at midfield a felony in Ohio. What do you think about that? Do you think it goes too far, or do you think it's necessary?
I think it goes too far. I think you can have rules that can disincentivize people enough to where they don't do it without actually making someone a felon if they do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it's just interesting because that, speaking of this is kind of personal. So I played football at OU and from 2014 to 2017, Oklahoma football. And 2016, Ohio State came into Oklahoma. They smacked us around. In 2017, we went back there and we were like, when we win this game, we've got to do something. So if you go back and look at that video, we had talked about doing something before after we won the game. When Baker plants the flag, you'll actually see me jumping up and down in a uniform. So it's kind of personal to me, but I think he's overreacting. I think the league should do something about it if they feel there's a problem, but I don't think you should be a felon if you do it.
Yeah, for all the things that you are not considered a felon for in this country, I'm not sure that flag planting at midfield really qualifies for that. I mean, I think at some point, college sports have become, for a lot of people, more important than professional sports, and for good reason, because in a lot of places, it just means a lot. I know here in the South, obviously, it does. It means a lot in a lot of parts of this country. You know, college sports are really it, and people care about it. So, you know, I think that sometimes people can take it too far. Vandy, you know, taking the goalposts and marching them down Broadway, I thought that was stupid because I thought it was destructive, and I thought that, you know, is possibly dangerous in some instances. So that kind of annoyed me. I still think that Vandy kids are kind of bratty, so I just don't like them anyway. But, you know, I think that you can take it too far in some instances, but also just like let kids have fun. Like if this is what they're doing and they want to have fun, like, you know, young people, if that's their idea of fun and that's their idea of letting out, you know, whatever their angst is, I think that that's a pretty low on the totem pole of things that we're going to worry about here. Before I let you go, Jeffrey, I just want to get your take. Moving on to 2025, what you think is going to be, I guess, the new cultural shift. What are you seeing on social media? What do you think is going to be the next big thing? You know, last year we had Brat and we had Demure and we had, of course, the TikToking, and then we had the resurgence of Donald Trump right here at the end, going November, December into the new year. What do you think next year is going to bestow upon us in terms of a cultural shift, especially on social media?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see more of what we've been seeing with people being openly conservative, openly supporting Trump, and many minorities doing that as well, not feeling like they have to be a Democrat, being willing to say, yeah, hey, I come out, I support MAGA, I support Trump, I'm on the right, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think we're going to see really throughout the next 4, I would argue 8 years, we're going to see that continuously grow over time. So I think there's going to be a lot of that. Other than that, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to be a conservative again, which I think is great. I mean, hey, listen, I'm all for everybody expressing themselves. If you're a liberal, be you, do you. But conservatives for too long have been scared to be that, and there's been too much stigma attached to it. So I'm hoping that we're turning a corner in terms of that. But we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you. And I hope to have you back in the new year.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good day.
Thanks so much. All right, folks, that does it for this episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I will see you right back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for my very special deep dive episode with former MLB catcher and current truth bomb thrower, Jonathan LaCroix. We were just talking about politics and sports and conservatism making a comeback, and this episode focuses on that and so much more. So please watch tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. I will also be on Outnumbered tomorrow at noon Eastern, so watch that and then watch Tomi Lahren is Fearless. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. And guess what, guys? You still have a little bit of time left to grab that last-minute gift. Shop all Outkick merchandise by visiting shop.outkick.com and score 20% off with code HOLIDAY at checkout. From Nashville, God bless and take care.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.